3,
two,
1.
monkey bars.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thick and Butter podcast. My name is Alex,
My name is Jesse.
aka Thick,
And Butter.
and this is episode 84
Quattro.
of the
Quattro.
podcast. This is going to be a review of.
That actually looks
that
pretty
was
good.
Cool.
Yeah, you should keep that.
Yeah, wow, it was right on time. But we're gonna review a movie today. But before we review a movie, we start this podcast off always with a bang with different discussions. And today we're recording this on November 20th. And today was a big day in America's history.
America's return to not be such a shithole, except it still is, but
right.
One step out.
America's return into boring politics. How about that?
That's perfect. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Biden's president.
Joe Biden got elected president today.
He wasn't assassinated.
He didn't get elected today. He got inaugurated today.
Yeah.
And like, did you watch any of it?
No, I just saw. I saw a clip of Kamala Harris getting sworn in, and that's it.
Right. I watched a little bit of it. It's crazy because there was like tons of military with AK-47s out there, and they're basically, because of the Capitol sworn,
Yeah,
they were worried that people were going to do something.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was worried about.
There's bulletproof glass there standing in front of you.
Wait. Where was the bullet clue? It was like in front of
Yeah.
So like in front of the balcony that they were standing on.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like they were in a goddamn fish tank. Then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
First fishy president.
I always thought I started watching it. I was like, oh, is that for the coronavirus? And they were like, no, that's bulletproof glass.
Wow.
It's for both, I guess.
So so this is officially going to be the weirdest looking inauguration ever because everyone's wearing masks and they look like they're in an aquarium.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the modern era. This is definitely the modern era,
man. But yeah, it's a pretty cool day. Of course, fucking Baby wasn't there. He just hopped on a plane and went to fucking Florida.
No kidding. He
wasn't there.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Probably snorting cocaine and
like
fucking
what
bitches right now.
What a fucking shitbag, dude. Like I feel like I've never been supportive of Trump, but I felt like I've been too apologetic to him a lot of times, and I've never said a nice thing, and I feel like I've said too many. Like I've been too apologetic and easy on the shitbag.
Say no matter what if you support him, his politics or whatever. I mean, he as a human, he's just a fucking piece of shit. I mean, he's just like
he's not good.
Such a bad person. Like,
he's not a good guy.
He's such a loser, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna go down in history as like the most idiotic, just loser that we've ever seen in politics. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see people write about him. Honestly, I'm excited to see how it's going to be. It's
documentaries, films.
Oh, dude. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I didn't even think about the flurry of fucking documentaries that are going to
So
come out of
many.
this period.
So many.
God forbid. Can you imagine, like, when we have kids and we're sitting down and we're going to watch a documentary, it's probably going to be called 2020. Like, we're going to have a
Yeah, oh, yeah,
documentary
for
called
sure.
2020.
Yeah,
How long
100%.
how many years do you think it's going to take before we see that documentary?
One.
You think so? By the
Yes.
end of this year, we're going to get
A
documentary
good
2020.
one, or a really good one, or like just what?
Okay, well, let's answer both of those questions. Like, the bad one's going to come out be like within
Yeah,
a
like
year. You're probably
yeah,
right.
within a
We'll
year.
get
Yeah.
we'll get 2020,
Netflix is
2020.
gonna jump on it. Yeah.
Dude, it's going to be 2020, 2021. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But the good,
What would you call it if you were making a documentary about 2020 now that it's
yeah.
over?
Well, I
What
think
would
I
you
think
call it?
if I want to make I would want to make a movie just called 2020, because
Yeah.
of how significant the year would be. But again, that's specifically, but then you would have to just talk about, like, the events of 2020 and
What
how
if you made
historic or
a
weird it was.
documentary called 2020 and you didn't mention anything? Like you didn't mention the coronavirus, the Black Lives Matter move. You just mentioned like all the like
Stock market
yeah,
exchanges.
all that. Like the Weeknd's album,
That'd be
like
funny. That'd be super
yeah,
funny. That would be
Tenet.
a shit documentary.
It's not even acknowledging anything at all. It'd be so awesome.
Well, what's funny about that is that if you don't acknowledge those events, like, nothing else happened.
Yeah, right. That's the funny part.
So it's like it would be like the shortest, it'd
2020,
be
the
like
year
5 minutes.
2020, the year that nothing happened.
Yeah, because you couldn't talk about movie releases. You couldn't really talk about album releases. You couldn't talk about, like, people, like, getting into crazy shit because everyone's inside. The most crazy thing that you could talk about was just like Bruce Willis was seen without his mask on at a CVS, but you couldn't say that because that's pandemic related. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a good movie.
Yeah, I think we're gonna definitely get a lot of documentaries about 2020. Probably a lot of revealing documentaries about Trump's presidency.
I'm curious. I would
Um,
love to watch that. I would love to watch, like, the, like, conspiracy Trump.
oh yeah, that's definitely happening.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I think like we're also gonna get a bunch of narrative films probably like in 10 years where some
Oh,
actor is gonna take on the role of Trump.
I'm so not looking forward to
Gonna
the
happen
Trump
to that.
biopic.
Yeah, that's just gonna be horrible because like just any actor playing Trump, this is gonna be fucking corny as fuck. 'Cause he's like a
Yeah.
cartoon, you know.
Yeah.
Like there, I don't know. There could be an angle that I mean I don't even know who can play Trump right now,
Yeah.
but
It is,
not make it
it is,
and make it serious. You know.
it's kind of interesting because, like, the Reagan presidency was so inspiring. Like, I feel like the new Black Ops game has Reagan as president,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that whole idea. Reagan's presidency was so, for whatever reason, was so inspirational to, and like Nixon and stuff, they were so
uh huh,
inspirational to creatives, because they were
yeah,
such
right.
characters
Yeah,
and
they
things
made
like
movies
that.
about Nixon
Yeah.
and Reagan and yeah,
But even in just, like, fiction pieces that, like, want to have, like, this some historical truth to them, will use them as caricatures because, like, just because they're such an exaggerated version of real life. So
hmm
Trump, that is kind of a good thing that might come out of this, is that there's a lot of creative potential to take the absolute farce that this whole presidency was for, like, these
yeah.
last 4 years. It's going to be really interesting to
I
see
like
what
to see
people do
like
with it.
yeah, like a comedy or like a dark comedy or like
Yeah.
satire on his presidency, but
Yeah.
the whole thing is kind of it's already absurd, like just on its own. So it's gonna be interesting to see if like people even attempt to like make a narrative film based on these 4 years.
I feel like I'm gonna need another, like, 5 to 10 years, especially if Trump runs
Yeah,
again in 2024, like, or whatever.
right.
If he
Against
runs
Kanye.
again against Kanye, if we have Trump against Kanye, like, I I don't want like to have that media that's making fun of it before we know that like Trump is, I don't know, dead or something. So we could just be like, okay, he's gone. Now we can just like move on.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that happened today. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty boring stuff, but also pretty exciting stuff at the same time.
It's pretty exciting how boring it is, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, thank God it was so boring.
Yeah, I also, it was funny to me. I was sitting there, and then like I forgot that like sometimes like they have like celebrities come out and, like sing songs, and like
That's
Lady
funny.
Gaga just like came out and sang the national anthem, and
Oh,
then
she did?
Jennifer Lopez came out and sang fucking oh, what's the other corny ass American song?
I can only think of the national
God is
anthem.
our land.
What? I've never heard. What is that song?
Fuck, I don't know. People are like, dude, these guys. Oh boy. What is
Listen,
like the fucking America's? So we have the Star Spangled Banner,
right?
right?
That's the Osei can.
And I feel like
I don't know. Is there? I'm sure there is another one. I'm sure you're right, but I have no idea what it is.
American songs.
What is what is America's playlist? What is the other song that we sing alongside the national anthem?
America's playlist. Holy fuck. America. What was the patriotic songs? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that like an article that popped up? A BuzzFeed article?
God
Most
bless,
patriotic songs.
God bless America. God bless America.
I feel like we could have guessed. I've never heard that song before. I've never heard that song. Never in my life. Never. No. I have not.
My home, sweet home.
I know. Oh my God. What is the Kentucky national anthem? There's a Kentucky one.
Kentucky national anthem.
I'm from Kentucky. They sing it all the time. That's the thing that we hear. We don't hear fucking God bless America. No, fuck the USA. We're all about Kentucky and Kentucky.
Born in the USA. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a Star Spangled. Do you know what I would really like? I would like us to get so sexually advanced, sex politics to get so open that when we have the next inauguration, like maybe not in this next one, but the one after that, we get like a strip tease sing of the Star Spangled Banner, and it's like a hip hop version, a hip hop strip tease. It's like that's what we want. So everyone's like, we got a new president. Let's let loose.
The president has to do it.
This president does a strip tease to get a knock. That's man, that would be a tradition. Can you imagine the amount of like press and people who would go and see that?
Yeah.
If I heard that Biden was doing a strip tease, like
I don't know, I might throw up to watch that.
Dude, I don't know. I'm like I would want to see that because
I'll see it. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it or not. Is the question.
Like I'm like if you hear Biden, like if Biden announced I'm doing a strip tease to inaugurate myself into presidency, it's like I'm not doing this. I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's not because I'm excited about it because it's like fuck, I'm so hard for Biden. It's that I'm excited for this event. So excited for this event.
Like,
what if that's his slogan? Like Trump comes back and there's like round 2 of Biden versus Trump. And that's what he announces as his platform against Trump. It's I'm not Trump, and I'm going to strip tease when I get inaugurated this year.
I'm going to show off my amazing dance moves.
Hard for Biden. That's what our signs would say. Hard for Biden.
So that's the name for the podcast right there.
Hard for Biden.
I'm looking at other USA songs. I like Surfing USA by the Beach Boys. Surfing USA.
I can't think of a more patriotic song than the Beach Boys. God damn.
Party in the USA. That song's ass cheeks.
Who made that song? Who wrote that? Wait. Who made Born in the USA?
Bruce Springsteen. Party in the USA.
Oh. Yeah. I definitely knew that. I'm sure someone told me at some point in my short
America,
life.
Fuck yeah, like Trey Parker and That's Good, classic.
Yeah, that's the most American song.
Fuck
yeah. Okay, I have a question for you. I had this question appeared to me. It came from the ether. It's one of those questions that when it popped into my head, I knew it was special, and I've been sitting on it for a while.
Uh,
And so, you know how we have this conversation sometime about like digital versus analog music,
mhm.
and sort of this conversation is rising again with the comeback of vinyl, and people are kind of
Yeah,
obsessing
right.
over using
Yeah.
tapes, and like it's it's a
Uh,
niche cool thing, but
yeah.
we're moving into a digital age where all music is done digitally, like through a computer.
Yeah.
So I had this thought. I was thinking, because I was one day I was sitting down and I was thinking about my ears, because I think it was soon after we talked about Sound of Metal, and I was
I
I
was
was
thinking about my ears.
I,
Okay.
I was thinking about my ears, and I was talking to Eva about how my fear of going deaf, because
Yeah.
it's scary, to lose a
Of
sense or
course.
something like that. And
Of
she was
course.
talking,
Yeah.
she was making a point. She said, okay, here's the thing. By the time, if you lose your hearing, you're probably going to be able to get ears like replacement that'd be pretty damn good, because
Yeah.
the eardrum is actually a pretty simple mechanical device that
Yeah.
humans can replicate it. We don't have it yet, but we're
Right.
going to get there. So that got me thinking about along the lines. That's like, okay, well, if it's inevitable that ears, like mechanical ears, are on the line, then we're going to definitely have the conversation where like it's going to get where the digital ears are going to get better than our analog ears. So it's going to turn into a conversation of
Mhm.
digital ears versus analog ears. And we're going to get to a point
Yeah.
where you could input ears that are going to hear frequencies
Yeah.
that our poor little fucked up analog ears won't hear anymore, And
Yeah.
then music is going to be different. And you're just like, dude, you can't listen to the new Dre song. That's in like 2 million frequencies. You don't have digital
Yeah.
ears. You can't listen to my music. Get on my fucking level, you fucking analog ear trash. So, like, what do you think about that? Because
I
you're
think that
already,
what you described is one of the scariest things on our planet.
yeah,
But I think it's gonna happen. That's like 100%. I mean, you're talking about like cyborgs, and like
yeah,
you're talking
essentially,
about.
yeah,
I mean, you're basically talking about like something that is inevitable. Where, like, yeah, like, yeah, like, say, yeah, it's gonna start with deaf people. It's gonna start with, instead of hearing aids, you know, deaf people could be like, oh, I could just get new ears and hear better than everybody, basically,
yeah,
bionic ears. And then it's gonna start with, oh, you know, I I got my arm amputated. Here's a better arm. Here's a carbon fiber arm that can break
yeah,
through fucking steel. Can lift like 300 pounds with this arm. So what's gonna happen is like all these kind of limbs and things like that are going to become mainstream, and people are gonna
yeah,
like we've talked about this before, where like people are gonna be like almost building their own kids.
yeah, with genetics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's it's
Not
a
big genetics, but even before that, probably, where like you have a baby, and you're like, all right, we have enough money to just give them a bionic arm. And like the
dude. Yeah, that's
fear of that
crazy.
is like what we talked about in the last episode is for a little bit is the fear of like AI not becoming human.
Yeah,
We just like losing our taking out the things that make us human and replacing it with machines and
yeah.
electronics. It's fucking terrifying. It's horrible.
I
It's
think,
a
yeah.
good
One of the
idea in practice. It's just the idea of like losing our humanity because we're just taking away everything that makes us human just
yeah,
because it's convenient.
yeah, and I think it's like I'm all for advancement into the future, but I think one of the things that we don't understand, which I think you're right. I think we're gonna get ahead in technology quicker than we are going to develop an understanding of what's actually happening with inside the human body. Um, and I think one of the things about the human body that I kind of believe this more and more is sort of a more philosophical idea. We have this concept that we have like the body and the mind, but I think
Yeah,
they're more like the same thing, Like it's not like
for
we have the
sure.
soul that can be like, I can't like take my soul out and put in someone else. It's like my soul is very connected to my body. Like
Right.
there's some reports of people who will get like a heart transplant or an arm, some kind of transplant, and they'll have memories that they didn't have. You know, they'll be from this transplant.
I know, dude.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
That's crazy. It's like, what does my arm remember? Like, how much of my college career is in my arm?
What is your wiener remember?
Dude, my right hand has some nightmare energy in it, dude. I don't want to give this to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking frightening. But it's also like the idea of like, there's a whole discussion going on now about like uploading your consciousness to like the cloud.
Yeah.
Like,
See, okay, like I think that maybe when I get older and I get to a point where I feel ready to die, you know, I'm becoming less and less afraid of death. You know, I don't think it's necessarily good to live your life scared of death. You should just, you know how terrifying it is. You can't make it not terrifying, but you got to accept it, right?
Well, yeah,
but like
that everybody's experiences. That's like one of the only things that everybody on the planet has in common. You know?
Right. And it's terribly difficult. But I think that like unless when I got older and I have some sort of knowledge about feeling ready for death and needing that, which I believe that might happen, I would consider like uploading myself to some kind of box or something. But that's kind of like maybe, okay, here's a science fiction story, right? So we have a science fiction story that where in this world they've created that thing. You have a little box that you can upload your consciousness to, and I don't know, exist as like a ethereal being, but it turns into purgatory essentially because there's like an afterlife you can't pass on to, but you're just stuck in like box world.
Well, that's kind of what there's a movie called The Lawnmower Man. You ever heard of that?
No, that's a great name.
Yeah, so kind of the idea of that, where it's like uploading your consciousness and it basically becomes.
What does lawnmowers have to do with it?
Like what you just described is like, like uploading. Like I would never do that for that reason. Like living forever is not the key, because when you live forever, like I think like for example, like these moments that you have in your life that you remember, like having your first girlfriend or meeting your first friend, all these things, they don't mean that much anymore because you know that you're gonna live forever. And you know that like life will just continue and continue and continue. And without that, I don't think you would have that same love for life that you would if when there's something that looms over everybody where it's like, it's over. So take these moments, like you really take in these moments instead of like, I don't know.
Here's what I think.
I get it. I mean, it's obviously a great concept of like, oh, I can live forever, but you have no body.
Yeah.
Like what? I think gonna live in a computer. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, you have to do it for the right reasons. And I think that the reason that I would want to do something like that is if it gave me the opportunity to continue to grow, you know. If I got to be like maybe people once they're 95, it's hard to say. It's like if someone who's 95 and let's say we double the human life expectancy, we get 200 years. Would we grow that much more in those 200 years, or by the time we get to be 100, like the normal human lifespan, would it be like well, we're about developed, this is who I am, I'm sticking with this? You know, how would our mindset change if we knew we could live 100 years more?
What does a 200-year-old man, what kind of knowledge does that guy have?
Yeah. And it's like, how would people prioritize their life? Because I mean, like,
they could still speak.
Yeah, like, would we go to school if we could live for 200 years? Would we go to school for like everyone be normalized to go to school for like 20 years? You know, like we would just, well, I guess we go to school for 20 years, not 20 years, but how long do we go to school? Yeah, almost like 15 years, 12 years. Yeah. So what? We double that, 15 years, 30 years, go to school, normalize going to school for like 30 to 40 years. Doggo feature, like that would be something like that could happen. I don't know. Like, I agree with you. I think that ultimately, because the other thing about it is this, like, why would I want to just like hold up this like mental real estate about being a conscious
also, like,
that's hanging around?
Imagine not having a body right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Well, it depends. It just depends on like what would that be like? Like, could I exist without a body and be content?
Well, how about like you upload it to a robot body?
Yeah. See, like that's something that intrigues me. Like I'm intrigued by that. I
Because
won't
like
automatically
uploading your
say no.
consciousness to an like the web, like what do you do? Like are
Yeah.
you just like feel like you're tracking a bot? Like I don't even really know the concept of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The
Like
thing that would
what does that even entail? Like
the thing that would be hell about that would be if you get like a pitch by a scientist who tells you it's one thing and you go in and it's not like that and you can't communicate and
if you
get
can't
out.
get out.
That would be scary.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just like upload and do that. It's like I'd rather just die and pats on and hope that like reincarnation is
Well,
something
yeah,
and I
it's the
come
whole
back.
idea of like you don't know what it's gonna be like. It's like
But
heaven or
what if I could like be like a computer ghost? Like that would be kind of dope. I could just like go to like my friend or like my nephew, my great grandson, and be like, "Hey, stop looking at this porn. It's inappropriate for you."
well you could or you could like yeah, like theoretically like someone could like walk up to you and like, pull up like AOL chat, how to talk with their uncle,
Yeah,
their
who's like a
their great
computer
great
ghost.
uncle. And
Yeah.
you go, so what's going on?
Like that'd be kind of sick. Like what? Like if I could I could be in like any video game. Like if we create virtual reality or something like that, I can make myself any avatar that I wanted to be in this space in this virtual world,
Yeah.
right? I
I
could make
think
myself.
I don't
Okay, dude.
I do not
Okay,
know.
here's this tripped out thought. What if we've already done this and the world that we're living in is a really like fucking perfected version of like the virtual
Yeah,
reality,
the
you
world
know?
is a simulation theory.
And like the aliens that are around us are just sort
Yeah,
of
we're
are
living in
like
the
the like
matrix.
the alien, all the Tic Tacs and shit, those are just like the avatars for the people who are still alive.
Yeah,
So hanging
the
around.
Matrix, man. The
That's
Matrix
crazy.
is a really cool movie. You should check it
Yeah.
out.
But like talking about as opposed to
Well, actually,
like
we're literally talking about the Matrix. I mean, like that's what the Matrix
yeah,
is. Like
but
all these people are uploaded into like
yeah,
this
but
virtual world.
what we're saying instead is instead of it being an alien interfering with human life, it's the progression of human evolution. You know,
Yeah,
to
right.
extend life is that we create the matrix to
I
put
forget that
people
was
in.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a real thing. I haven't
Yeah,
really like done the research about it, like what that even like entails, like
yeah,
what. I don't think anybody knows. I think they just have the idea that they could possibly do it. Like I
yeah.
don't think they know like what it would be like or anything like. I don't even know how. What is the science behind that?
I
You
know.
know?
I mean, it's crazy to think about how we know so much right now. We know like a crazy amount. Like we know that atoms exist. That blows my mind that we know that atoms exist and we can like fuck with atoms. I
Yeah,
still think
yeah.
that's super crazy. But the fact is that it's like damn near like it is 100% certain that like because I was listening to that latest Joe Rogan podcast and I think that was where they came up with the statistic that NASA has found out that every single star has planets around it.
Yeah. It's
Like
crazy, man.
dude, that means that there's like things living out there right now, like for sure.
1,000%.
And it's like when
1,000%.
you think about that, it's like thinking just think about the possibilities, man. Think about the
Yeah.
possibilities. Dog people, you know, all furries are real. This
Yeah.
idea that like every single alternative reality exists, like every version of you, you know, it's like
Yeah,
that could be
alternate
real.
realities. Yeah.
I could have
Yeah.
a big dick on like Saturn
God, I
7.
sure hope so.
Yeah.
Sure hope so.
We could be married. Two big dick gay lovers on Saturn 7.
Sure.
And we didn't even have to on Saturn 7 we didn't even have to go through like the gay revolution to get our marriage license legal. It's just normalized. Everyone's just big dick guys, you know.
Right.
On Saturn 7 it's totally normal, you know. There's no gay people, and the first woman that comes here just like totally shakes everything up, just like it's just like what the fuck are you, what is
Right.
what are these
What's
things?
that movie? Oh, Alien 3. No, wait, what was There's a movie where it was like
Oh, are you talking about like yeah, where she goes to
recently where
prison
a
and
woman was like,
all like everyone was horny for Ripley because she was a girl
well,
and they
she's
were
a
in like
woman, yeah,
yeah monk prison.
a woman,
That's such a lame concept, you know, dude. The monk prison in Alien 3.
yeah.
It's like it sucks because it's almost cool, but it's
It's an
just not.
interesting like concept where like I like the idea that like maybe if it took the angle of like monks, like people who literally like monks were on Earth, they were like, fuck
Yeah.
Earth. I can't be at peace with myself on Earth.
Yeah.
And they went to like a different planet and they
Space
just made like
monks.
their own kind of tribe and colony there. Wasn't that like the original idea though? For
Yeah,
Alien
there
3?
was I think we talked about this in the Alien
Yeah.
podcast that there was an idea that there would be like which I thought this was so cool. Like everything would be made out of wood and it'd be like a monk
Right.
monastery and they would and
What a
the
bizarre
alien would
idea.
be like a devil. Yeah, I thought that would be it
Yeah.
would be so cool like to see that. I wish I could see that
I
movie.
get I stopped like I used to do that a lot where I would read kind of like scripts for like movies that didn't turn out very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The worst one that I'm so upset that I read was The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh
And what leaked
no.
was the original version of it.
Yeah. Is
It's
it
just so
cool?
much better. It's just so much
Have
better.
we talked
Like
about this? To
I
remind me,
don't
what
think
was it?
so. It was. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I can't remember specifically, but there's like
Like
a
Leia was
lot of
supposed to
different
be a
stuff.
Jedi, right? She was supposed to be a
Leia, yeah,
Jedi. She was
Leia was
supposed to be the
supposed to be a
last Jedi.
Jedi. And the last one, the thing that I really remember, like thinking when I was reading it, that like how much better the character Finn would have turned out to be
Man, they really
is
fucked that character in the
yeah,
ass.
because
It was
like
a huge
how
shame.
because how he started was extremely interesting,
So cool.
and then Last Jedi kind of did nothing really with him. But the third movie was supposed to, at the end, like he was supposed to um something with five other stormtroopers that
Yeah.
had left the First Order and wanted to get out of the First Order, and he would lead like a revolution with the ex stormtroopers.
Which like
Which would be
kind of
good, which
happened
would
in
be kind of like kinda. The
but it
idea
wasn't
of
not
that
really.
kinda happened, but not at all.
Well,
And
like the thing that it fucking failed in Sky in Rise of Skywalker was that like they introduced that at the last fucking 20 minutes of the
mhm,
movie. It's just like what am I supposed to do with this? Like there's
yeah,
so much shit going on and this is just more noise and I want to care about
yeah.
the storyline but you don't at all.
I'll have
That
to
movie
look
was
it up
so
again. I
sad.
don't remember the specifics of it, but it wasn't like perfect, you know. But it was like it was interesting. It was
Well, the
way
problem the
more
problem is
interesting.
the problem is that Rise of Skywalker is literally trash.
It's
It's just
trash.
trash. So
Yeah,
you
it's
just need
trash.
something. It's like it's
Yeah.
okay if it's not good, but Skywalker
Well,
is
I mean, we talk
trash.
about this all the time, but it's trash because it's not a movie. Like
Yeah.
it's literally pandering the movie. It's
Yeah, it's true.
to an extent that is just absolutely infuriating.
Directed by Reddit. I think you're so right. It's like totally directed by Reddit.
100%. I mean, we've said this a lot, but it's like that movie is so. It's like the same phenomenon of like that, like Batman v Superman, fucking all these things that don't like make. They don't take risks because
Yeah.
they're scared of fans, which is hilarious. Like that's what's so funny about Rise of Skywalker because like now, like, obviously, right, like, Force Awakens and Last Jedi are better. Obviously. They're just obviously. You know, you
Yeah.
can hate those movies. You can hate them. But at least they have an original story. They have, like, some characters, especially Last Jedi, that try to, like, do something. You
Yeah.
know? Like, that try to, like, be like, okay, I'm going to make a different Star Wars movie. Instead of, like, okay, what do the fans want? They want to see Palpatine come back. They want Rey and Kylo to fuck. They want, like, and they did all of it. They checked literally all the boxes of like everything without making an interesting story.
Yeah.
Things like the remember how Palpatine just like first of all they never explained why he's alive. He's just alive. Hooked up with some machine. He's just alive. You know, completely negating a lot of the original six films,
Yeah.
the arc of it, him just being alive. Because then Anakin isn't the chosen one. Because of, like if he's still alive, that whole arc is just
Oh yeah,
negated.
that's a super good point. That's a
And then like
super
they
good
never
point.
explained how he's even alive. And then he just like with a snap of his fingers, like a whole army of Star Destroyers just lift out of the ground.
It's fucking lame, dude. It's
Like if
really
that movie
lame.
wasn't Star Wars, that would be the laughing stock of blockbuster filmmaking. But
Yeah.
because it's Star Wars, there's enough crazy people out there that are like, yeah, like that movie's cool, you know?
You know what I do want to return to Rise of Skywalker with is I want to return and like almost maybe just mute the fucking movie and watch it like that because there's a lot of like really cool
Oh
visual
yeah,
stuff done in
yeah.
the
It's
movie.
super like there's like a lot of like I mean J.J. Abrams is super talented like visually.
Well,
He
okay,
makes some
wait.
really great visual films.
I have an idea, Alex. What if we do a version of Rise of Skywalker where we watch it, but we commentate over it, and we make
Yeah,
our
we can
whole
do
we make the whole music for the whole thing, and you and I
that.
voice all of the characters. I think we could make it better. Honestly, I think we would make
We
it
could make
better.
it better, yeah.
What would we call that?
We could make it a porno.
Wow, dude!
Oh,
But
dude, we could
wait,
make the whole
how
thing a lead up into the kiss. Yeah.
into the the climactic
The
sexy
climactic
kiss?
kiss. Dude, when that I remember when that happened in the theater, I fucking went. I never I hate people talking movies theaters when I was like, "Are you like?" I literally said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
'Cause
I
I just
said
couldn't
that
help myself. I was like, "What the fuck am I
I did that.
watching?"
I did that when they showed that Chewbacca was actually alive. I was so upset when they I was they got me so hard because I was like, "Oh my god, I actually really value that they were brave enough to kill off Chewbacca."
Yeah.
And then they fucking did and I was like, "You fucking pansy ass little
Of
pussies."
course not. There
And
are
it's like,
also that whole segment, that movie, where like the whole subplot where they have to like how they get to Palpatine, where they have that like dagger, and it's like a fucking like Indiana Jones
wow.
movie where they have to
Wow.
like yeah,
I
so fun. And then
completely
they walk up,
forgot.
and the shape of the dagger is the same shape as the destroyed Death Star. Yeah, that
What the
movie is trash.
what
I
the
can't
fuck were they
believe they
on?
wrote that.
I have a question for you because I've seen a lot of press for this, and there's been press since like the beginning of time. It feels like since this
Uh,
pandemic has been so long. But
yeah.
WandaVision premiered, right? It's
Yes,
out now.
I gotta actually watch the first episode tonight.
I think you should. I want you to tell me about it because it looks really interesting.
Yes, yeah, it looks super interesting. My sister, who's not a huge Marvel fan, like she likes the Marvel movies, she likes Spider-Man and Guardians
Yeah,
of the Galaxy, and you know, um,
greatest
and
hits.
she texted me and was like, "Yeah, you should watch this. This is actually kind of cool and like really interesting." So yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, it's definitely the weirdest thing Marvel has done for sure.
Yeah,
Like
which
just
is what excites me.
on paper, you know.
Yeah,
And like that's one of the pluses of like Disney Plus, right? Where you kind of like these shows, just like you take kind of more risks. You know, they're not because
yeah.
willing on they're not banking on box office. You know, people are still subscribed to Disney Plus. You can kind of make something weird and out there, and if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. Moving on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so like I'm super fascinated to watch that because like on paper it's just such a bizarre idea. You know.
Yeah, so I've never really been clear on what the idea is. And I was watching it
So
looks like to me, let me see if I'm right. Because it seems like what I thought it looked like at first is some kind of parody of like classic sitcoms. What it looks like what it actually is that like um Vision and Scarlet Witch are stuck in some kind of like this weird alternate dimension thingy.
I think that's what's going on. Yeah, I also think it's so the style of it is in like a 1950s sitcom,
Yeah.
and
But there's also color sometimes, it seems like the trailers had
so
color
yeah, it's weird
shots,
because the trailers you have there's some sitcom stuff, but there's also like some normal kind of Marvel stuff. So like
which excites me. I think that's
yeah,
cool.
super cool. I mean, and I think Vision's an awesome character, and I also
Mhm.
think that they didn't really do a lot with him
Yeah. That's why I didn't like him
as
because
much
he
as
they didn't do anything with
as
him.
much as they could have done. Like I think like there were parts of him, and especially like the last two Avengers movies, or the Infinity War that I thought was really cool. But
Yeah, he was awesome. He was awesome in Infinity War.
yeah,
He
and
was
like
really
when he
awesome in
was
Infinity
introduced
War.
in like Age of Ultron, like there was some like awesome. Like I remember, like I don't love Age of Ultron, but there's like one
I don't remember anything from Age of
moment
Ultron.
in Age of Ultron that I remember that was fucking sick. Is when like at the end of the movie when Vision's the one that kills Ultron at the end,
Yeah.
and like Ultron Ultron asks him like, "Who are you?" And Vision just goes, "I am," and he shoots him with the laser beam. I was like, that is the most badass thing I've ever seen. I am.
I am.
That's like that is I am God, bitch. And like that's crazy. But and then there's that great moment Ultron where he, like Vision like picks up Thor's hammer like it's nothing. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But he's cool. So like I'd like to see like, and I think Paul Bettany's an amazing actor too. So I'd like to see like him kind of explore that character like even further, you know.
Yeah.
And like it's cool they're doing that, the WandaVision, and then they have the Falcon, Captain America, Falcon, and the
Yeah. That would be
Soldier,
cool.
which is cool too because those two characters work really well together, and that could be a really fun show, you know.
Yeah.
The trailer for
I'm
that was fucking kind of mind blowing to me because I was like, this doesn't look like a fucking TV show. Like this just looks like a Marvel movie. Like
I
there's
mean they're
like an
not they're
action movie at the end, scene at the end of the trailer. I was like, dude, we put a lot of money into that, man.
I
Like,
mean they probably can do that where like Disney has
yeah,
enough money where they could put
yeah, man.
like a movie budget into every single fucking episode
I
of
know,
every single goddamn TV show that they
I
own.
know, I know.
They could make like High School Musical, the series
Two,
into like two into like a movie like quality production. They have
I
the money
know.
to do that. They could
Crazy.
remake what? Can of Worms. They could remake Can of Worms in like modern
Can of
2020.
worms. Holy fuck.
We should talk about that movie on that podcast. That
Yeah,
movie's
dude,
crazy.
when we were oh my god, when we watched that, man, I was like, dude, what in the fuck, man?
The great thing about that is that we still have we should definitely watch that whole thing straight through because we only skipped through that movie. We didn't watch
That's
the whole
right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, speaking of like streaming stuff,
Yeah.
this like all did you see that Netflix like released this like trailer that was
No.
like about like their 2021. So they like released this like trailer and it was like
For their releases?
yeah, it was like about it was like how many their 2021 slate. They have
Hmm.
71 movies coming out and one and some of them are just straight up blockbusters. One of them is like
Wow.
stars Dwayne The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, like some action
Wow.
movie. A lot of crazy shit. But dude, listen to this.
Okay.
This like I was like, how did they? So the most interesting movie that I heard about like after watching this trailer was at the very end. They showed the shot of Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence
Oh, I've
going
heard
off
about
some
this.
dude. Like, so it's directed by Adam McKay, who's like known for directing, the Anchorman movies, the Talladega Nights, The Big Short, which is a great movie.
I love that movie.
And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it starts Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. I was like, oh, cool. And I went on IMDb and I kind of looked it up what it was about. Sounds awesome. It's got two astronauts where like a meteor's about to hit, and they need to warn everybody that the Earth is basically going to get hit by this meteor.
Like a good
Cool,
disaster
cool
movie,
idea.
kind
Yeah,
of.
cool idea. And then I looked at the cast and I was like, what in the fuck? Listen to this. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Evans, Timothy Chalamet, Kate Blanchett,
Oh my god.
Meryl Streep,
Oh my god.
Jonah Hill,
Wow.
Ron Perlman, and Kid Cudi, and Tyler Perry. I was like, bro, how much money did they give these people?
What the fuck was this made by Netflix?
Yeah, this is a Netflix movie. I think. I don't know if this is like a one of those. Like, I don't know if they acquired this
Wow.
movie. You
I feel
know,
like Jesus Christ. What is that movie called?
it's called Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up.
I mean, Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio alone, like, fucking watching that shit, couldn't you? It's a
Wow.
great actor. Jennifer Lawrence hasn't been in a movie in a minute.
You know what's crazy? If we combine all of the money that it costs to hire all of those actors, we could probably just rebuild Earth. Just like
Probably.
just
I
from like
also
ground
don't
up.
know. I also don't know, like, I don't know how much they're paying these people. But sometimes, like, you hear about, like, Jonah Hill, for example, when he did Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, he did it for nothing,
He did
right?
it for like nothing, yeah, because it was,
Hmm.
a great movie and it was Martin Scorsese. So I don't know, like,
Dude, what the fuck? This film, the production company for this was Hyper Object Industry Bluegrass Films. What the fuck is
yeah,
that?
what is that? That must be
What the fuck is
must be
that?
a Netflix thing.
How the hell? The
Yeah.
Hyper, like if and I imagine if I'm Leonardo DiCaprio and I got an email from Hyper Object Industries Bluegrass Films, it would be immediately delete.
I mean,
Like immediately.
I would assume that it's a subsidiary of
Like
Netflix.
Leonardo DiCaprio has a filter like on his email list for anything that doesn't say like over anything over 1 million,
Yeah,
not even 1 million. It's
right.
like
Yeah,
40, like
yeah,
20 million.
whose
Warner
agent?
Bros.
Yeah, who's like one of those actors that like if you don't know the director's name, he isn't picking up. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he just
yeah.
has that power now. Um, as he should. Phenomenal. Just do
He's a crazy
whatever
actor.
you want to do. He doesn't have to. He doesn't need money, and he doesn't need to work. You know, it's not like what he did like 20 years ago when he just do
Yeah.
everything. Um, now he can do a movie every 8 years.
He doesn't have to
Um,
do a fucking movie if he doesn't want to, dude. He
yeah,
could
exactly.
just goddamn live on an island with all
Live
those
on the
other fat
Titanic money.
fucks. Yeah, he could live on Saturn 7 with all the other gay fucks on Saturn 7 if he wanted to.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. So like, I'm
That is
looking
crazy.
forward to that. But it's also like crazy too because we talk about this with HBO. They announce, whatever they're doing, where their movies are coming out on in theaters and on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
VOD. Like it's crazy that Netflix, like they're not just, you know years ago, like last year in 2019, last year 20 oh my god 2 years ago 2019, and 2020 I guess, but they got like films that were like made by, kind of smaller, like big profile movies like Marriage Story and stuff
Sure,
like
sure.
that, that were very successful and like had stars in it. But this is like a different level of that. Like
Yeah.
it seems like that they're basically just making studio blockbusters, which is fucking wild. I mean,
It's pretty crazy,
even
man.
crazier than that is like all of those stars that I just listed are movie stars. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, like this is the first time he'll be in a streaming movie, you know,
Yeah.
and like so is
Oh,
Jennifer
that's true.
Lawrence. So like it's crazy that the tides are really shifting towards streaming.
Yeah, this
And
is. I
like,
feel. I feel like the next couple of years are going to be a pretty big year to see the shift in the movie industry. It's going to be
for
a
sure,
pretty dramatic paradigm shift.
for sure. And like, it's interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see when theaters actually do start opening up. And I know that it's weird because they kind of are like here. Like they're not like they're only doing a couple showings, but like they're kind of starting to slowly open.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't. They'll probably be open by the end of the year, I would assume, if this vaccine rolls out like the right, timetable that we think it's going to. Um, but it's going to be interesting to see like if people are going to go. Like the key is what's going to happen is like movies are still going to open. Are people still going to go? You
Yep.
know, I think so. You know, but we'll
I think what's
see.
going to happen once the fear's over, when we all get vaccinated, I think there's going to be a mass rush to like do anything that you want to. So I'm
That's what
not.
I'm thinking too.
I'm actually before we were kind of talking about, it's just like, why would people want to leave their homes? But it's like now I'm thinking, it's just like, dude, everyone's going to want to leave their homes. Like no one wants to be inside for a
Well,
while.
yeah, and
There'll at
also
least be a boom.
the movie theater experience, like we were talking about, is just not. It's just it's there's nothing like it. Your
Yeah.
house is not not the same as
I,
going
I
to a movie theater. You know.
what I could see what is happening is that we go through a period where there's a boom in movie theaters to deal with the COVID fatigue of just being inside all the fucking time,
Uh
and then movie theaters die. I could see that happening. Well, I
huh.
don't think
Sure.
movie theaters are going to die after
Yeah.
we all get vaccinated because we just need shit to do.
I think the movies that we're gonna see in theaters are gonna change. I think the quantity of movies
Definitely.
that you see in theaters, like,
Definitely.
it's definitely gonna change, because I think like studios are like maybe I think the biggest fear for these like major studios like Universal and stuff like that, like they got Warner Brothers anymore because they have HBO
Uh-huh.
Max, but like other studios like that that are primarily just releasing the theaters like that are scared because they don't have like they would have to because like some like little film that like this movie I don't know like I don't know like some little film like Sound of Metal or something like
Yeah.
were they gonna put that out in theaters or were they gonna get Amazon probably gave them a good dollar and they probably wouldn't have made that money if that movie went to theaters. That's
It's
what's so
true.
awesome about streaming services. It's Palm
It's really
Springs, for
true.
example. They bought it. Hulu bought it for $20 million. They maybe would have made that. Maybe it might have been a smash hit of how good it was and how fun it was, but you don't know that. It's
But
the
people have so much lower expectations for a movie they're streaming versus a movie they go to the
yeah,
theater
exactly.
for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that too. Like that's true. Like you can also like yeah, like something like that is kind of like a smaller scale kind of thing. Like that movie is built for streaming.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So I think we said this like when we talked about when HBO did it, but like the change of like the types of movies that we're gonna get and kind of the way that they're gonna come out is just gonna be a lot different now. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not like ready for it. I guess
Wildly
I just
different.
want to. My biggest fear was and still is. I want to see Dune in the theater. I want to see the James Bond
Yes.
movie in the theater.
Yes.
I
Yes.
want to
Yes.
see the new
Yes.
Marvel
Yes.
movies in the
Yes.
theater.
Yes. 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 Yes.
But
Yes. Those are
this
theater
Don't Look
fucking
Now
movies.
movie, I can watch this at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Whatever.
yeah. I'm 100% with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that.
Bill and Ted Face the Music, I can watch that at home. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, why don't you introduce
Oh man.
the movie that we're going to talk about, which is
Okay.
quite a wild bag.
I will
So,
try.
What are we talking about, my friend?
So, um, I chose. I think I misspoke on the last podcast, but I watched. So I was like kind of interested in Robert Crum, who's if you guys don't know, was a well-known comic book writer in the late '60s and '70s. and he in the underground. He wrote kind of these. I don't even know how you describe them. Very like
Controversial.
controversial, satirical. Um,
He's an
kind of
iconoclast. He's very against the grain of what
yeah,
society
right,
thinks is okay. Not
right.
not PC at
And
all.
he boomed during a radical time in the late
Yeah.
'60s and the early '70s.
Counterculture.
Super interesting time period.
Maybe not
And
counterculture.
if you're interested in please watch Crumb. It's one of the best. You don't even have to be into Robert Crum or know who he is. It is a phenomenal documentary that is honestly one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life in terms of about one person, about somebody's life. You really get to know who this guy is on a uncomfortable level in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. And it's one of those mind blowing things I've ever seen. Um, and then I watched another movie called American Splendor. I said American Graffiti, which is a George
Different movie.
Lucas movie.
Yeah,
It's a great
different
movie.
movie.
But this is American Splendor, which is about Harvey
Yeah.
Pekar, who wrote these amazing comics called American Splendor, that were about the everyday American. Um, and Robert Crum is in that movie because Harvey Pekar and Robert Crum had a relationship. So Crum is portrayed in that movie.
Like a friendship relationship or like
Friendship,
an
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, friendship. And so I was like really interested kind of in Crum's work, and I was like, 'cause I never even really know who he was or like read anything. So, and one of his most famous kind of comics that he did in the '60s and the '70s was Fritz the Cat.
Robert Crumb, that is.
Robert
Robert
Crum,
Crumb.
yeah, not Pekar. And this was made into a film adaptation in 1972 by the same guy, Ralph Bakshi, who made Wizards, who we
Another
talked,
iconoclast.
yeah, who we talked about, I don't even know when, a while ago.
Yeah, it was a
And I was
long
like,
time ago now.
yeah, I don't even remember, probably in the summer, I think. Um, and I was so curious to watch this because I had heard that, Ralph Bakshi made Wizards is a bizarre film,
Yeah, very
bizarre
bizarre.
movie. And super, but a film that I really enjoyed. Really enjoyed. It was super out there and actually had a
Definitely.
lot of interesting things to say about kind of like society. And when it came out in the time, it was pretty like I said, this was made during the '70s, which was a very like radical time, especially for art. Where people were making kind of very like charged things.
Yes.
Um, and Fritz the Cat was another Bakshi movie, and this movie is batshit insane.
Yeah, it's way crazier than
This movie is
Wizard.
batshit
Wizards.
insane. Insane.
Yeah.
This might be the craziest movie we've talked about on this podcast.
I don't think there's anything that is as politically crazy as this. I would say for
Yeah,
sure.
it's pretty crazy.
It's it is when I was watching it, I think that it probably offends every
Mm-hmm.
single
Mm-hmm.
person on this planet. Like it says
Yeah.
something offensive about everybody.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And like, I guess we can kind of describe what this is. So, this was a comic I don't even know where to start with this, but Robert Crumb is he's an interesting guy. And
Yes.
one of the things that makes him so interesting is obviously his view on society and his view on, he has a very funny, satirical kind of look on the world, but very truthful in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. But on top of that, he's also what so interesting about the documentary is not a perfect person,
Yeah.
and he's very I wouldn't maybe say. I mean, I guess he's misogynistic in some respect. He's racist in some areas.
He's unapologetically offensive most of the time.
Yes,
He's
but
like he
what makes him interesting though is that like there are some truths to what he's saying, especially in his own life, and that's what makes him such an interesting artist
yeah.
because of how honest, brutally honest he is with
Yeah.
himself and in his work. And Fritz the Cat, that's kind of the way I can kind of describe this movie too. Like when I was watching this, I was like, man, this like Fritz the Cat, the character, I might as well just be Robert Crum. I mean, the way
Yeah,
that
it's yeah,
he
totally.
talks, the
Absolutely.
way that I mean, I thought it was him when he like voicing him,
The
and I had to
voicing,
look
yeah,
it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I mean, like he has the same cadence, the same like he literally talks like Robert Crumb does in that documentary. Um, and so this movie is fucking batshit insane. It is like it's basically Fritz the Cat is a college student who is kind of fed up with, you know,
Yeah.
doing homework and he basically is like, fuck it, I'm gonna live a life of basically this is hedonism, basically.
Y-
Um and that's kind of how I can describe this
Yeah,
movie.
it's essentially it's kind of structured like a hangout movie is, where we just sort of follow this
Hmm.
character and go through these various increasingly dramatic and insane, utterly insane scenarios that Fritz continues to get him in, which are
It's
re- like
satirical in a lot of ways too.
very satirical and relentlessly uncensored. They're censored.
Oh yeah.
They are mostly sexually graphic most
Yes.
of the time,
Yeah.
and also kind of have the iconic George Crumb offensiveness to it.
Right.
But like one of the things I want to sort of piggyback on of what like you're talking about, it's like yes, this film is really offensive, as is Robert Crumb. But I
Yeah.
think the thing that's really significant about this movie is it's like it's offensive but not closed-minded. You know, it's not like they're making
Yeah.
these
Right.
closed-minded as like saying black people are stupid or violent
Yes.
or all these things. He's just
Yeah.
making these comments on like what he sees, and not necessarily,
Right.
I'm not claiming he's making a true statement about black people in general,
Yeah.
but there's something that is so human about it. It's like
Right.
it's about Fritz's interpretation of the world. It's
Yeah.
about the
Right.
director's interpretation of the world, and they're just presenting it and not saying believe in my political beliefs. It's just
Right.
saying experience my experience, which
Hmm.
is really refreshing to me. I've really just
Yeah.
loved how I loved watching this movie and being so exhilarated by knowing that literally fucking anything could happen. I loved that watching this movie.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really exhilarating.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
in like a and usually when I like things like that or things that are kind of charged like this offensive, I'm a little bit nervous because I guess like the fear of being offended or seeing something like
Sure.
so grotesque I couldn't stand it, but I didn't really have that fear for this either. I sort of
No, I
just
mean, I think like there's also a part of this movie that is very funny. I mean, it's very
oh, it's
satirical.
hilarious. It's
Yeah, it's very
absolutely
hilarious. And
hilarious.
I think the wrong way to look at this would be kind of like this is a very like satirical look of like it's the only movie that I can really think about this. You're gonna laugh, but is the Beach Bum. It's like the
Ah,
only comparison that I can like think about that is like
I
the
have
Beach Bum.
I haven't seen The Beach Bum, but
The
I
Beach Bum has a
totally
similar idea where
understand.
it's this kooky character in the middle that has these kind of weird outlooks on life and is very hedonistic, smoking
Yeah.
weed.
I mean, it's like The
Well,
Big Lebowski. It's a lot like The
Big
Big Lebowski
Lebowski, yeah,
too.
right.
It's just a lot more it's just a lot more offensive than The Big Lebowski. It's not as
Yeah,
PC.
right.
Um uh
And I guess what we can start is like how this movie starts is
the best is the best.
so
It's
insane.
crazy. I love it.
It's so insane. Um, and so basically, like we meet Fritz, and he's
This whole movie is animated, by the way. It's a
Yeah, it's
completely
animated.
animated
It's an
movie.
animated film. And very like amateurish animation. It's the same as like,
Yeah.
wizards.
I wouldn't call it amateurish. I would
Well, yeah,
call
I
it
guess
like
like yeah,
it's old animation
yeah,
from the
old. Yeah,
70s.
yeah. Um, and uh, and it has this like weird, like same kind of like techniques that were used for like wizards. Like there's
Yeah.
some like really strange, like
Yeah.
animation, but really fucking cool.
A lot of
Uh,
independent like film production sort of
yeah,
cutting
that's what I'm
corner
talking
type
about.
things. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and uh, so him and his friends are like hanging out on the side of the street to like pick up ladies, and they start like when I first watched this, Fritz is such a, I mean, he's such a like, you're like creeped out by him almost
Yeah.
because he's the way that he is like picking up these women and like torques them to like come in his room
I
and
mean, he's
like,
like totally predatory, right? Like
no,
he's totally
absolutely, yeah,
predatory.
100%. Um, and I guess it's, I guess like I felt some kind of weird way watching this too because I had seen Crumb. And that's the one thing about his personality that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like,
Yeah.
is his look on women and how
He's
he
very
portrays
misogynistic, like,
women.
right?
Yeah. And to a point, it's not like so overtly, um, like fuck women. It's just the way that he like talks about that. He's just he likes sex a lot.
Yeah.
He's just a very sexually charged man. Um, and Fritz is too, and like, and it's funny in this movie because he's kind of, it's so, like, that's the thing about this is like so over the top
Yeah.
that it works because it's like kind of this kind of satirical look of like hedonism. These people who just want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fuck, these people who just want to smoke weed, the people who just want to like, do coke and all these things. Um, and the way that it's portrayed in this movie is just kind of with this like Looney Tunes like veneer on top of it, where it's like this really insane zany. Like he basically like that scene. He gets on the upstairs and a orgy breaks
Yeah.
out. A
Well, it's not like a censored kind of implied orgy behind doors. You see the literal orgy
yeah,
of like you see vagina, you see fucking dick,
yeah, they're
you
all
see
animals.
they're all anthropomorphic animals, and slowly you see more guys come in and they're all fucking these girls that Fritz has brought up, which
Right.
like to say it's not rape, the girls are portrayed as being really fucking stupid, which is
Yeah.
offensive, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's if this was rape, it'd be a lot more offensive to me. But like
Of
the
course.
girls are stupidly consenting to
Yeah.
this
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
orgy.
Right.
Offensive in a different way, I would say,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's absolutely batshit. You're right. Like who would
Well,
like
the thing about him, Krug's work, is definitely it is told through his perspective, right?
yes.
Well, like it's very almost like pornographic in a
Oh
way,
yeah. Yeah, you're
and
right.
so like if you look at it through that way, it's kind of interesting. Um, but it's weird, man. You'll never see anything like this, you know?
Yeah. Did you I'm assuming you seem to be you're speaking with enthusiasm.
Yeah,
So, did you like this movie? I'm
I
assuming
think
you
I
liked it.
liked it. I think
Yeah.
so. I mean,
Uh,
it was, I think there are parts of it that I think are like amazing. There's especially like towards the end where like some of the political stuff and like some of the kind of statements that this movie was kind of making was kind of maybe not even a statement. It was just kind of putting this thing out there. It was like for example, like his one of the pimp, or I can't remember really his name, who gets shot, the
Duke.
black pimp,
Yeah,
Duke.
Duke. Yeah. He has a really interesting way. They portray all the black people who are obviously black people as
Yeah,
crows. They're all
yeah,
crows. So it's this really weird walking the line of these absolutely offensive like caricatures of like
Crum
black
was the
people.
he did that a lot in his
Yeah.
comics, and he
But it's like
also wrote the N word and got all these.
it'd be really interesting. I would love to hear a black person's if they are offended by Fritz the Cat because or specifically
Right.
by those caricatures and stuff like that. Because I mean, a black person could easily be offended by Fritz the Cat.
Yeah.
Women, Jewish people, all of them. They have
You-
all their rights to be offended by Fritz the Cat. It's very
yeah.
offensive. But I
Well,
would
it's
wonder what their
interesting, right?
commentary.
Because it's not like the black people are portrayed in this movie as
I
it's
wouldn't
almost
call it a
just the way
racist
that
portrayal.
no,
I
no, no,
wouldn't.
no, not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the way that they look, and kind of. Well, I was a little nervous when this movie started,
Hmm.
and when the girls,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
do think
right
it's
before the
I do
orgy.
think it's very funny. Not everyone will think it's funny, but as like it is so dead on to some people that I like
Yeah,
met in college
yeah. You're
and
describing.
especially here, where it's like you know, it's like the that great scene in Get Out. It's like I'll go for Obama a second time if I could. It's like that kind of mentality.
Yeah, yeah. What you're, yeah, Alex, you're talking about the scene where the three girls who right before Alex, not Alex. Oh my God, that's a funny slip.
I did that.
But right before Fritz seduces them to come have an orgy, they all gather around this black guy and start just spouting this pro black rhetoric
Yeah.
that has gotten very common in the counterculture period of the 1960s and saying
Hmm.
all these great things about black people, which actually is some of the most racist kind of
Yeah.
like
Right.
support
Yeah.
of it on the whole time, which that's kind of the thing that sort of agreeing with you about the commentary on this is that especially in these time what I found so refreshing about these depictions was just the completely unrestrained non-sided like
Yeah. Right.
depictions of this shit which it
Yeah.
like if I felt like I got like a it felt so much more truthful, you know, and a non
Sure. Yeah.
and it wasn't bigoted. That's what it was so
Yeah.
refreshing to me. So you could show the shit that was on the verge of being racist, but it didn't feel like bigots like speech to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love because it's like I don't like I hate this is a weird thing to say, but I hate having to censor bigots, you know? I hate having to hate Donald Trump, but I
Of
do
course.
because he's a
Yeah.
fucking trash. But
Yeah.
it's like I
Right.
don't want to have to censor people. I'm totally against censorship,
I mean,
but
there's a
there's
difference between censoring someone that is literally telling lies.
right, right. And
Trump.
that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem because like, and that's the thing about like Fritz the Cats that I think a lot of people will be problematic is that there would be a lot of people who wouldn't have the tact of Fritz the Cat or Ralph Bakshi and Robert Crum, which maybe tact isn't the right word to some
Uh-huh.
people, but I think they do a really artistic and well done job of walking the line of depicting really offensive material in a meaningful and artistic way that's not
Yeah.
disgusting
For sure.
essentially.
For sure. And I think I
It's
mean,
challenging
it's challenging for
instead.
sure. And I guess I'm glad you said that because I was like thinking that because like I was like I didn't know like how to feel about it because on one hand like I did feel that way, but on the other hand I was like, is this racist? Like I don't even
Yeah.
like it was a weird thing to see, so I don't really know like how I really feel about it, but until kind of like the ending of it almost where like the scene where like he's basically oh my god, where he's like having sex with the fucking huge black woman, or
Yeah.
whatever, and he's like, yeah, we gotta start the revolution.
And he starts a
And,
fucking race war. Some of like the
yeah,
that scene when he starts the
right.
race war is like the crazy. It's like the ending of fucking what's the Spike Lee movie? Do the right thing. It's like the ending of Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like
right.
emerges, but it's like
Yeah,
so much
true.
and it's
Yeah,
also it also reminds me of like the Blue Skies Pink Floyd video because of like
yeah,
how like they really it's like World War III is
yeah,
what this
right,
race war
yeah.
depicted in Fritz the
I
Cat.
know.
It's intense. It's
And it's intense
intense.
because a lot of it is still relevant even to this day. Almost
Yeah,
like you would like
right.
look at it and you can see the correlation. Like if you look at it through you look at it through different lenses, but you look at it through this lens of like, oh wow, like it's making a statement on how you know how black people are treated, still to this day. You can look at it like that, but there's probably different angles, but I'm not smart enough to
Yeah.
come up with those other angles. Um, but yeah, uh, but also like the way that like this also movie is so like so 70s and
Yeah.
60s. Like this shit is like
I love
trippy as fuck.
I love how in the times it is, it really just
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
interesting
so
like that.
settled in that.
It feels such like a time capsule too.
But it doesn't feel dated, which is what I think is so
Mm-mm.
great about it. It's
Yeah.
just like it's just so accepting of like that's what I loved about this movie, which I don't know if I said this specifically, but I fucking loved this movie. I
Yeah.
loved this movie. I thought it
Yeah.
was awesome. But it's just so authentic,
Right.
unapologetically
Yeah.
authentic.
Right.
It's just so comfortable with being a film made in the 1960s, talking about 1960s, talking about controversial shit in a completely unfiltered way.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Yeah.
like it was I just found that to be so incredibly refreshing about it. And I also,
Hmm.
the other thing I also really liked about this movie was, in addition to just the content of what it's talking about, is I just loved, I think it works so well as an animated film. I think it works
Yeah.
so
I don't
well as
think.
an animated film.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if this would have worked if it wasn't animated.
Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't because like
No.
something about like the nudity and stuff in it is still visceral and intense, but it also sort of softens it and makes it more
Well, it's
satirical,
kind
I
of a
guess.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of a rule of It's like something of like comedy that a lot of great stand-up comedians and films. And when you make somebody laugh, and you kind of their guard is immediately kind of lifted. So when you like, it makes it more like when something like for example when a Dave Chappelle makes you laugh like hard, and then he fucking punches you with that real shit,
Yeah.
like punches through that, it's a lot more impactful because your guard is down and you're more accepting of.
Yeah.
When somebody makes you laugh or a piece of art makes you laugh, you're more um accepting to that person or or uh or that piece of art,
Yeah.
So I think that's what this film kind of does in a really good way, where you're laughing 1 second and then you're like, oh my fuck, that was some real shit,
Yeah.
that was an intense shit. I'm gonna think about what I just saw, you
Yeah,
know.
and I think you're totally right, and I think that sort of so much play along those lines in Fritz the Cat. That it is really playful about dancing around that. About not it's not really concerned with trying to push an agenda on you, but it still
Yeah,
is doing that. Like you're saying, it still is. It still is kind of informing these really heavy truths on you. And another thing I liked about the way they dealt with this subject matter in Fritz the Cats is I don't know if this is a me thing, but with animation sometimes when you're dealing with disturbing material, I can find it to be extra disturbing, and if it's done poorly on animation. A good
hmm
example of this is in Soul Station. You know how the ending is all
oh
around the
yeah,
girl who
yeah,
is basically the
right,
guy attempts to rape her, and there's
right,
that whole flip where it's actually her
right,
pimp and not her dad. Like
right,
that's disgusting to me. It was
right,
really, really disturbing, and
yeah,
I think it was enhanced by it being animated. But I think
right,
this Fritz the Cat, I think, is a great example because I never felt like that. And there is almost a scene like that at the very end. Do you remember the scene where the hippo
yes,
at the very end of the movie, Fritz gets associated with Nazis just to talk about how crazy
right,
he starts a race war in support of black people, and then he's with Nazis.
right,
That's how crazy this movie
yeah,
is.
right.
So Fritz is hanging out with Nazis, and
Yeah.
while he's hanging out with Nazis and they're having their Nazi meeting about blowing up some kind of power plant, and of course he's masturbating. Uh, they start to
Yeah.
there's this other girl who is I love kind of a digression before talking about the sexual violence piece that I want to address. Like the character of the brainwashed Nazi rabbit is so interesting to me. I loved his character. But anyways, there's this brainwashed Nazi rabbit who has this hippo girlfriend who he obviously fucking despises and only thinks is a sex object. And this hippo character is really fond of this scumbag, and it wants to go to a Chinese restaurant with him. And then him and the other two Nazis that are there proceed to fucking beat the shit out of her. Yeah, they want they beat the shit out of this hippo character. And they don't show this, but I read in the Wikipedia that allegedly they did gang rape her, but I don't know that's not really seen. You know, they could have
implied
tortured, gang rape, whatever. Something fucking horrible happens to this character. My point being is that this is a horrible, really terrible thing that is not played for laughs. It's not supposed to be funny at all, you know. And I don't feel like it tugs at your emotions in this. And it, to me, I don't know if you felt this way, but to me, that was more additive to the story than something like in Soul Station, which was way more manipulative. Like I didn't feel like
definitely agree with you. I mean, I think like this, my emotions towards this was just so like confusing. Like I was just like I just did not like I didn't know what to feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that I was just like, I mean, I think that worked. You know, like this movie is so backshit insane. But I totally agree with you. I admire the fuck out of this because it's so authentic. It is literally just like we're gonna do whatever. We have no agenda. We're just gonna fucking make something what we want to make that is so insane, pulling no punches, no. Like I'm looking at the IMDb and the fucking poster says we're not rated X for nothing, baby.
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point, because the historical point, because this is also a cool film because it was the first ever maybe first ever American animated film that was rated X, which is
probably not a lot of them either.
Yeah, there's not a lot because animation was and still largely is considered to be for kids, right?
Yeah. There's
it's changing now, of course.
More adult animated things now, but
which is really largely thanks to Ralph Bakshi. Like he kind of
Park and the Simpsons,
which the South Park and Simpsons come directly from Fritz the Cat. Like that's the other thing about like modern animation.
South Park when I was watching this.
It's
just like
it's very similar.
Offensiveness and brassness and not pulling any punches, you know, very similar.
Yeah, literally, Fritz the Cat is just like South Park. It is like that's
even crazier than South Park.
Yeah, it is because it's. I mean,
no censoring. I mean, South Park has to censor a little bit.
Yeah, well, like they censor nudity and stuff, right? Yeah.
And
that's the thing.
Cuss words.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about this movie.
There's an egg word. There's a couple egg bombs in this movie.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like this movie.
Any punches, man.
I think that's the thing that I find to be so utterly beautiful about this film. That's like different than other films that are like kind of edgy or trying to be like Soul Station, you know, which is just like trying to be edgy and controversial, but it's just like, dude, you're just fucking doing it for views and stuff. It's like Fritz the Cat and Ralph Bakshi and all of them, Robert Crum, all of them. It's just like, I don't care if you fucking leave me in a ditch to die after you see this film. I'm going to continue to make this shit because it's who I am. That kind of freedom and bravery to do shit like that, which maybe if I knew these people personally, I wouldn't respect them as much. But the art that they make and the message and the inspiration that it gives me is incredibly meaningful. I think it's just it's really powerful. I think it's really powerful.
It's just the idea of like doing I mean I think there might be a level of like to this movie, like a level of trying to shock people, which like I'm not like a massive fan of, just because I think it's easy, like just to watch a fucking cat fuck another cat with a dick like isn't very. But this there's more to this movie. Exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. There's an actual. It's not just shock to shock. Like Family Guy or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so um, but yeah, I mean like that's what attracted me to Robert Crum. Like when I watched that documentary, is like this guy. Like I don't really like him like as a person because of his. He's just not a really good guy. But
He's
when
kind of, I
you
mean, he is really kind of just a disturbing asshole a lot of the times of what it
Yeah,
seems
but I
like.
mean, he's such an interesting artist because of that. Because
Yeah.
he doesn't care, and he
Yeah.
doesn't. He literally puts himself in his comics. He puts himself in, and so it's really interesting to see because you don't have a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Usually, a lot of artists are under some kind of, you know, scrutiny or restraint. Obviously, no issues there with
Yeah.
that, but like a lot of artists have to adhere to some, you know, restraint. But with
Yeah.
him, it's dude, he would. I remember there was a comic that he did. He talked about in Crum, and I was like, "What?" Like he talks about. I couldn't even say it. It's N word hearts, and he talks about like it was like this ad for like Edward hearts. So it was like this like satirical ad of like white people
Wow.
buying hearts of black people. And the way that he drew black people was the racist thing I've ever seen in my life. like,
Yeah.
you see shit like that, you're like, you know, I don't know if I like that. I mean, it's kind of funny in a very dark and satirical way, but you have to admire that he drew that, did all that, and put it out.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking ballsy as shit, man.
Yeah, and
You
I
know?
think what I remember watching an interview with him that just really, really hit me hard, in this like motivating and existential kind of like kind of clicking, like a seismic shift
Yeah,
in my life after I watched this man talk. And I will preface this by saying that it's like we're kind of dodging around interesting territory about like saying things like like putting people on a pedestal who are artists and people who have done great things and putting their lifestyle and the persons that they are on a pedestal because we like
yeah.
the work that they're
I
doing.
think
And it's just like,
we're kind of like we both have that opinion, right? Where it's
yeah,
like, I think pieces of shit can still make
yeah,
good art. Separating the art from the artist. You know?
yeah. And maybe Crumb is also that person who is just like a shitbag,
I mean,
who makes great
he
things.
listen. He hasn't been accused of anything. Like he's
Right.
not a rapist. He's not. He's just has views about women, and he's also an older dude than us. We're a different
Yeah.
generation,
But yeah,
But it's just
yeah,
sometimes it rubs me the wrong way. But that's who he is.
yeah.
He's unapologetically that. So he's still interesting to
And
study and look at.
but the thing also about it that I think is that like unlike a lot of people who say terrible shit and are kind of terrible people who have done terrible things but have made great movies, it's almost like Robert Crumb has sort of sacrificed his own ethics and integrity to going down this path
Yeah,
of understanding these greater truths. Because when you hear him talk, he the way he explains things and sees the world is with this kind of sage precision.
yeah, right,
He has like
exactly,
this
yeah.
wise man like hit the nail on the head about things that he doesn't he doesn't leave any stone unturned, and he just doesn't.
Yeah,
And it's like it's kind of like being a martyr or something like
yeah,
that, he just says the shit that people sometimes needs to hear, and he's willing to kind of like die for it.
right.
And I again, like, if Robert Crumb really offends you or if he really bothers you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like make you
No,
like to victim shame people and say you should think of him as a god, but
no,
he is so impactful and and has done really influential things, especially to comics.
Yeah, I mean, I think like to comics, but also, I mean, if you want, I mean, I'm
And
keep
movies. Yeah,
referencing,
right.
Krug. I mean, it will truly blow your mind. I mean, and I also like have also some sympathy for Krug too, because when you watch that documentary, one of the most mind-blowing things about it is how it goes into his family and
Which
how
he
his
had a pretty fucked up
family
family.
is fucked up. Not a little. I mean, fucked up. I
Yeah.
mean, to the point where, I mean, all I'm going to say about the documentary is this really famous philosopher, I forgot remember his name, said a quote about the movie Chrome that I saw, and I saw this and I was deeply disturbed because I agreed with it. And he goes, if you want to know how a serial rapist thinks, watch Chrome.
Wow.
And he's 100% right.
Wow.
Um, Crum is basically a misogynist sexual assaulter that never acted on his thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, and
Wow. That
if
is
that is
really
interesting to
disturbing.
you, watch Crum. It's amazing. It's fucking incredible. I cannot believe that it was even made. It's such an amazing film, but
Yeah. Wow.
it's disturbing. I mean, that's why I'm so fascinated by this man, and like that's why I like kind of watching this Fritz the Cat movie. It's kind of there's a weird there's a weird like kind of feeling I have watching this because
Yeah.
like there's some of the thoughts like that he has on women are truly disturbing that he
Yeah.
expresses in Crumb that aren't just like that aren't just like oh, like, I could, you know, women should be in the kitchen, like shit like like that.
Yeah.
It goes deeper and it's disturbing and it's more disturbing than that.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe it's just because I watched Crumb and I just a couple times and I'm kind of
Yeah.
just I don't know. I still really enjoy this movie. It's just that
Yeah.
either like the historical context, I just don't maybe like like could
Well,
really
there's
like have too much fun watching this because I kind of know where it like comes from. This
well,
like kind of
I think the other
but
thing to what you're saying is that even with that without that context, that shit is still there,
yeah,
you
well,
know?
absolutely, yeah, right.
Like because of like in I mean all that stuff that you're kind of talking about because he treats women are treated terribly in this movie
Hmm.
and like
But there is also like strong kind of female characters like his girlfriend in
yeah,
the movie.
but she's still
But
an
she's yeah,
incredibly
right. Yeah,
offensive
yeah,
caricature
yeah,
of
yeah,
like the bossy
yeah. Right,
girlfriend
right,
at
yeah,
the end of the day.
right. Well, yeah,
So
because yeah, right, yeah.
it's so
The way that storyline goes.
yeah, I'd be curious to see. I watched this movie in an incredibly good mood. So I was like really curious. I think I'm
Yeah.
always since I've had this first experience, I'm always going to have a good time with Fritz the Cat. But I'm curious to see as I go with it if that will kind of shift with me because of how just this movie is just it's like you said, it's just really tapping. This is kind of the thing where you see
But
the
also,
truth.
This is based on Krug had nothing to do with the film.
Yeah, right.
This is
It's just
based
based
on
on his characters and
comics.
his scripts.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is
Which is, I
largely
would assume, maybe more crazy.
yeah. It yes, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
because this is really Ralph Bakshi because he wrote the screenplay. This is
yeah,
mostly Ralph
yeah,
Bakshi,
yeah,
um, which maybe we should be talking more about his psychology about it
yeah,
because like
right,
we don't know much about him, but he's
yeah,
probably a little bit sexist too. Who
right.
knows? I mean, but I feel like this movie and Crumb and all of this style of making things really goes with the stereotype of describing that an artist is really on the verge of insanity. Being a good
Yeah,
artist and being
100%. Yeah,
creative is
yeah,
really close to just being batshit insane. And I feel like
yeah.
Robert Crumb is a great example of a guy who is like almost fucking
Well,
insane. Like
he
he
is.
is
I
almost
mean, he is.
he
I
is
mean,
insane. Yeah,
because I mean,
that's true.
his brothers are clinically insane. I mean, both of
Yeah.
them. That's one of those things. There's not the documentary. We should just review the documentary. But
I want to watch it. I would
it
love
is.
to review it.
His brothers are fucking insane. I mean, they're insane.
Wow.
He got it. He got out. I mean, that family is insane. I mean, they
Yeah.
are a bunch of crazy people. I mean, he's like the normal one, God.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah. Which
watching that,
is,
you're like, this dude is the normal one.
I know when I saw when I was watching, I watched a Robert Egert.
Eggers.
Wow. Uh, no, Roger Ebert.
Right?
Dude, wow. And Siskel, Ebert and Siskel talk about Crum.
Yeah.
And that when they were talking about all that shit about how fucked up his family was and stuff, I was like,
Yeah. Oh,
wow,
their review is
there's
crazy. I've seen that review.
they love it too, by
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that it's kind of watch this movie's on Prime. I think you should if you want if
Oh,
you
it's insane. You might love it, man. It's
I,
fucking that shit insane.
but it's definitely
Well,
something to kind of proceed with caution because it's intense. It's
it's
really
intense. Yeah.
fucking intense. And I was also I think it's
It's
just
cool to watch it in like a historical perspective too. Like you
yeah.
like because it is a very like historically important movie for that reason where it really is the first maybe the first ever adult animated film, you know,
Yeah.
that hit the mainstream. And we wouldn't have these iconic things like South Park and stuff like that if it
Which
wasn't for this, most
which
likely.
also which by the way, another historical fact about this movie is that this movie was super successful. It was
Really?
super
That's interesting.
successful. It like
I would have guessed that this was a major bomb.
yeah,
But
all of other Bakshi's films, this was his only successful movie. All of the other ones were like under the radar cult hits. But this was also his
right.
debut film. He made this film and it basically like put him on the map. But
Wow.
like this film was I think that what the let me look at the budget. I know it made like 90 million. It made a
I
lot of
thought this
money.
was famous in terms of like I thought this was huge in like the teenager crowd, the
Oh
fucking
yeah,
stoner
dude.
crowd. Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, I would love to watch this. Like, I can think of so many times, like at a, yeah. So it was made for 700,000 and it made like 90 million.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. It
90
was,
million in 1972, dog.
yeah. It made a lot of money. It made a
A
lot
lot of
of
money,
money.
dog.
But yeah, I would have loved. This would have been a great movie to watch just like one night, like in college. Like
Totally.
I feel like it's not like a kind of movie that
You
people.
know, Ralph
I don't know.
Bakshi made a
Maybe.
movie called Coonskin.
Yeah. I want to see all of his movies. I think that I have his adaptation of Lord of the Rings. I've been really wanting to watch it.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did make that too.
Some people are like die hard that that's the best version of Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings.
Really?
Which
That's
oh
interesting.
yeah.
I want to watch it then. The Lord of the Rings, 1970. Oh, 78? What? 2 hours and 12 minutes? Holy fuck. That's a honking movie right there.
Is that the what does
That's the
Coonskin?
animated Lord of the Rings movie.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was short. I heard that
No, that's
and yeah,
long.
anyway.
Well, I'm just because Wizards and this movie aren't really short. They're like
Yeah,
an
they're really
hour and
short.
10 minutes or
Which
something.
I love the runtime of Fritz. I thought the like
Oh,
it
it's
being kind of
perfect.
short like
I
that
think a
felt
little
really
more
good.
would be like too much. This shit is just constantly.
Yeah, dude. By like 27 minutes into this movie, I was
I had
like,
to
dude,
take a break.
I'm fucking
I was
exhausted.
like,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
there were some parts of this that made me laugh so fucking hard. There was I love the cops. The
Yeah,
pigs are so funny. Um,
they're literally pigs. Like
yeah,
Alex is not
literally,
just
yeah, they're
slanging
so
for
funny.
cops.
Yeah, so funny. A lot of like some, you know, like crazy lines that Fritz says, and yeah, made me laugh really hard. Um, but yeah, this is a weird movie, man. Like I'm having trouble kind of formulating thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think that well, I would say that you did a great job formulating your thoughts, and I think that
Oh, thanks.
I think we did a pretty good job kind of breaking down this movie. There's a lot like if you wanted to get more specific about it, and we're not really interested in talking about like the political implications. It's just not really our style
Well,
about
we
talking
don't.
about those things.
Yeah, it's not our style. And we also don't know what we're talking
We're
about.
not qualified at all.
Let's not beat around the bush here.
Yeah, we're not up for it. But I think we can. I think we can pretty say that this is. Are you
This
ready?
is definitely thick and butter improved.
Thick and butter approved. Yeah.
I want to get. I want to get a soundboard for this podcast.
Yeah.
You know.
Thick and butter.
Exactly. I want sound drops. I want shit like that.
I mean,
Stream Deck.
You have your
My mini, yeah, I could do that.
You could program it if you wanted to.
Figure out how to do that. Let me fun as shit. But yeah, all right. So
I have a movie for you.
You have a movie for us
I do. I have a movie for us to watch for the next of weeks, which is the next week, the last week of January.
Yes.
Well, we're also kind of behind on. Yeah, so this will be the first week of February. This next movie that I'm introducing. To launch February, I want to revisit a film which
Valentine's Day.
I wanted to relaunch a film that I have considered to be maybe my favorite film of all time ever since I've seen it. And I've kind of held it in the back of my brain as being one of my favorite movies. Maybe being my favorite movie of all time, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I want to revisit it, and I also want to fucking buy it. So the movie that I want to talk about is Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation.
Great. Love it. I have it on Blu-ray. Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm happy to pick that because I think a lot of people don't know what that is.
No.
And people should, because it's better than The Godfather. Boom!
It's crazy good. It's really good. Crazy good.
Awesome movie. So, yeah, that's a great choice. Love it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this wonderful, crazy. I don't even remember what we talked about. Fritz the Cat, a bunch of other things. Being hard for Biden. All the different stuff.
2024, hard for Biden.
2024, hard for Biden, baby. We love you. If you want to follow this podcast, subscribe to it on iTunes, follow us on Spotify. If you want to get updates, cool comics done by Jesse every week that are awesome.
Thank you.
I hung on my wall over there.
Check out at Thick and Butter Podcast.
Yeah, on Instagram. Twitter.
It's the same thing on Twitter. At Thick and Butter Podcast on Twitter.
At
Thick and Butter.
Thick and Butter. At Thick and Butter. That's our handle.
Just search at Thick and Butter and it'll probably come.
Yeah, it'll come.
Or you'll get.
Come up.
Or you'll get thick anime titties. It's one or the other.
Yeah, one of the other ones. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Tell your mom, tell your grandpa, tell all the amphibians, avoid the avians. We're open.
Don't tell the flamingos. I guess they're birds. They're part of the alien.
Yeah, they're included on the no-go list. The only exception is peacocks so far. That's the only avian.
Yeah, the strippers of the alien world
onto the thick and buttered premises. I think we should also open our borders beyond the world of Earth too. I think we should let in aliens.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we talk about aliens and bugs. I think you're right.
I think they deserve it.
You're from Jupiter 7, Saturn 8.
All
Uranus
of them.
4.
Come
check
here.
Us out.
Come check us out at Thick and Butter. We have a little bit of something for everybody of all of those worlds and all of those species.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.